Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchable News. It's Friday, March 27th, 2026. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, finally, the Senate passes DHS funding. What happened? What it means for Democrats and Republicans, and what's next. Number two, drama in Colorado. Diane Deette might not make it on the ballot. And number three, Republicans on the campaign trail. How Mike Rogers is talking about gas prices in Michigan. All right, Jake, let's get into it. Wow, it has been a long week, and the Senate was up late passing DHS funding finally after weeks of a stalemate of Democrats and Republicans fighting back and forth over what the future of DHS should look like. This was happening in the cover of night, but they finally got it across the finish line. Both sides basically not getting anything. You know, Democrats didn't get all the things they wanted by any stretch. Republicans ended up caving in a strategy that they originally said they weren't going to be for, but they approved the funding by voice vote at 3 a.m. This funding excludes ICE and CBP, but it ends the bitter impasse.
Yeah, a lot to talk about here. So they approved this by voice in the middle of the night, as you said. This was basically funding DHS minus ICE and CBP, which Democrats have been asking for weeks. Now, Democrats also engaged in negotiations where they were asking for a ton of other stuff, but this is it. This is what Democrats were asking for. And Democrats did not get any of the concessions that they started this shutdown to get. They didn't get no masks. They didn't get body cameras. They didn't get this. They didn't get that. They got nothing. Republicans didn't get funding for ICE or CBP. Now, fortunately for Republicans, those two sub-agencies, ICE and CBP, were the beneficiaries of tens of billions of extra dollars in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So what does this mean? This guarantees to me that they're going to do another reconciliation package, something that Thune has been skeptical of. That reconciliation package may or may not include the Save America Act. I don't think it will, because reconciliation is a tough place to do it. But conservatives let this go without getting SAVE. So no one really got what they wanted. No one really got anything. Maybe that's the best way to do this. Now it goes to the House. What the hell's going to happen in the House? I don't know. I assume they're going to be able to pass this. Why? Because they basically already passed this. This is just the component parts of the DHS bill that have already passed the House a number of times. They shouldn't even waste any time on this. They passed this thing yesterday. They passed this thing yesterday on the floor. Now, conservatives will say, well, we didn't get ICE funding. We didn't get CBP. Yes, they did not. But they had that in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So they should be able to get this on suspension, which requires 290, requires 2/3 vote. Trump has to not be, he needs to just say, we need this. He doesn't have to say, we need this, but we need this. All he has to do is say, we need this. And it should be relatively smooth sailing here.
It also feels a little bit like, I just think like the vibe check in the room is DHS needs to be funded, right?
Yeah.
If you look at TSA, you look at all these members of Congress, none of them, I've been talking to a bunch of people, very uncomfortable with the idea of going home for 2 weeks and not having taken care of this issue. I think that also provides a little bit of the salve for House Republicans and for the House to move forward. I think the question is it going to be a vote Friday? Is it going to be a vote over the weekend? We'll have to see. But certainly, the White House has signaled that Trump, was supportive of the approach. And if he stays supportive of the approach, it seems as though this is the momentum. Members want to go home, especially the senators were ready. 5 weeks in, this is a long time for them.
Plus a weekend session, Anna.
Plus a weekend session. Just really working hard. But true. I think, as you say, just quickly, no real winners here. I do think, listen, Democrats did not extract the policies that they wanted, as you say, but they do have a new head of DHS, right? They did get this passed without having to be able to fund ICE, which would have been very difficult for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to not face a massive outcry by the left on this. So he was able to kind of thread the needle. They've lost all negotiating power though now, right? This is, if you go forward, this becomes reconciliation, as you say. This becomes something that is a Republican party line vote, and they certainly aren't going to want to install the changes that Democrats want when it comes to all the changes at ICE.
No, those aren't happening.
Right.
That ship has sailed.
Right.
And you could argue that they won by getting Noam out. Like, I get that, but I don't really see that as being part of the equation here. So anyway,
I do think the one question I want to know is what happens with House Democrats. I think that's an unknown here, right? You've got, obviously, all pressure will be on the speaker, but what House Democrats decide to go for this, this was really a Senate Democratic negotiation. What do the moderates do? I mean, are we talking a few members, or do most members go and support this because it does have funding for TSA, it does have funding for Coast Guard and things like that? That's something to watch.
I will say they've been asking for this. For the most part, fund DHS by this ICE and CBP. I don't know why they wouldn't vote for this. Of course, I guess I do know now that I've said that, because they didn't get anything. Listen, there is a huge middle of the House Democratic caucus that would be happy with this. And if House Democrats don't want to create another narrative that they are splitting from Senate Democrats, that they would pass this. And I don't know. I tried to get the House Republican leadership to tell me they're thinking last night, late last night. They were kind of silent. I will be there this morning to see what I could find out. So anyway, that's kind of where we are.
Quick thing here, Ethics Latest. Our very own John Bresnahan was covering this intently yesterday. A special panel of the House Ethics Committee met for 7 hours on Thursday in the case of an embattled Democratic representative, Shafrilis McCormick, the member from Florida. The special panel, not the full ethics committee, will announce today whether it's approved a 27-count statement of alleged violations against the member or have more hearings. A statement could come as early as today. That's big news.
It is. This is a rare ethics trial investigating Sheila Shafrilis McCormick, who is also under indictment, in which her lawyers argued that she should not be subject to an ethics trial in the middle of a criminal proceeding, but that didn't work.
All right, Jake, let's go to the number 2 story of the morning. This is an amazing story by Max Cohen and Allie Mutnick, looking at how Diane Deette, the veteran Democrat from Colorado, is facing a chance of failing to qualify for the primary ballot, a shocking predicament that could end the 15-term incumbent's career. Really interesting. I mean, this is like insider of insider politics. But what, to me, if you zoom out, this is establishment versus kind of the rise of social democratic candidates and this intra-party fight that we are seeing kind of at the national level, but really at a microcosm.
Diana DeGette needs 30% to make the ballot. The delegate pool for this caucus was determined earlier this month. DeGette's allies insist she'll be fine, but March brought a wake-up call. She only narrowly cleared that 30% threshold, with her opponent Milat Kiros dominating 63-35 in a delegate preference poll at the county assembly in mid-March. DeGette said she'll be on the ballot and win her primary after 30 years. You'd hope she'd think that she would win her primary, but this is a very interesting example of a candidate who's at least running as more progressive, Justice Democrat-backed candidate trying to knock off a longtime incumbent.
All right, listen to the number 3 story of the morning. Zooming over to Michigan, former Representative Mike Rogers, the Republican from Michigan, downplayed the impact of the Iran war on gas prices during a recent Senate campaign stop. Max got audio where Rogers was quoted as saying, "We're going to be fine. We got plenty of oil. You'll get your oil because we're going to pump our oil right here in America, and we got plenty." Interesting messaging as folks are seeing the price at the pump rise.
This kind of follows in line with Scott Bessent yesterday saying, basically Americans are happy or are willing to have higher oil prices if Iran is going to get knocked out. I don't think that's true. This is going to be a major issue in the campaign, obviously. We've got plenty of oil. We're going to be fine is not really the message people want to hear when they're paying $5 a gallon for gas. I don't think. Certainly
a different message than what Republicans have said before when President Joe Biden also faced high prices.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, before we let you go, Flyout Day is live. We had Representative Jim McGovern, the Democrat from Massachusetts, on the show. Give it a listen. It was a really fun episode, Jake. I mean, we talked a lot about DHS, about Iran war powers, but also, especially for our insiders of insiders, Washington, kind of thinking about what would a Democratic majority look like in the House. He would, in that instance, be chair of the Rules Committee. And he had a lot of thoughts about how the floor works, what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, very interesting episode. And it's a real view into where Democrats think they'll go if they win the majority.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great weekend. And as always,
go Huskies.
Please share the podcast with your friends and family. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.